What's up, everybody? Thanks, y'all, for checking me out. Well, I'm back again with another movie review. Today, I'll be talking about the brand new movie Hellboy. Now, this is a remake, from the 2004 Hellboy movies. It's also a graphic novel that you might want to check out. It tells the whole origins and lore. It's actually a really cool world. But this one stars David Harbour as Hellboy, the title character himself. Now, this is the best, worst movie you'll ever see in recent memory. I think I'll just get into the story of it because it's pretty basic and straightforward, and then I'll talk a little bit about how it came across overall. So the basic gist of the story is they give us, of course, the origins of Hellboy, how Rasputin called him forth, and how he was a little baby that arrived, and then they were supposed to kill him, but they kept him alive, and blah, blah, blah. And so they get into the current day, and now he's just running around and kicking monsters' asses and, doing this thing. So this world that they have, sort of humans exist, but monsters exist in the shadows. Every once in a while, they'll come out and, rampage and do something crazy. And that's where Hellboy and his crew, they come through and they fix things. So we get into the Blood Queen. Now, she's basically a queen from 500 or so years ago or whatever. And when she was around, she was killed by King Arthur. He used the sword Excalibur to cut her head off and cut her arm off. And then they chopped her up in all these pieces and put her, I'm not even playing around. They put her body parts in different boxes and stuff and buried them all around England. So yeah, that's pretty jacked up. And they put her head in a box specifically by itself. So in current day, she having this rat pig man type of deal go around, and he's killing all these folks and using their, I guess, seances and incantations to release her body parts from these boxes, and he gets all the body parts and bring them to these witches, and then they literally start stitching her back together. I'm not playing around, I'm being serious with y'all. This is in the movie. So they start stitching her back together, but of course she needs her powers. So Hellboy and his crew, they're all trying to ragtag together and stop her from getting her powers back because she's going to unleash this plague on humanity. Well, they failed to do so. So when she goes to get her powers back, she cuts a hole in her hand, and then she walks over to a tree. She walks over to a tree, cuts a hole in the tree, and then the tree starts bleeding blood into the hole in her hand. The tree starts bleeding blood into her hand, and that's how she gets her powers back. So now she's at full strength, and they have all these monsters and stuff, rising up from the ground and wreaking havoc. And that was pretty much the coolest part of the movie to me. I was like, hell yeah, all these monsters were killing all these stupid humans, and they were just destroying all these buildings, and it was all this chaos. And I was like, oh yeah, they had a brand new attitude about this whole Hellboy universe. Let's have at it. Give me more of this. Here, take my money. Let all these big giant ass monsters just wreak havoc. So at the end, after you have all this cool stuff going on with all these big monsters, Hellboy makes the worst decision I've ever seen. He takes the sword Excalibur and he uses that to cut the Blood Queen's head off, and all the monsters, went back down into their holes, and everything went back, not to normal. I mean, it still was pretty much chaos everywhere. Everything was destroyed. But, Hellboy and his team won. Like I say, the movie is pretty predictable with the story. The villain, I'm sorry, Mila Jovovich, but it was pretty a bland villain in this movie. So it's pretty predictable, But at the end, when you think everything was over, they really gave us a nice, cool action scene with Daniel Day-Kim. He plays Major Ben, but he could transform into this cool-ass Jaguar. So you had him doing that. And then you had Sasha Lane. She plays Alice, this psychic, also was on the team. You had her in there using her abilities, and they gave her guns and some pretty cool-ass brass knuckles with spells on them. So you had them and Hellboy running through this warehouse, I guess, kicking a lot of ass. It was a really cool action scene for about 2 or 3 minutes, and I really wish the movie had more of that in there. And that's where you get the Abe Sapien, I guess you can call it an Easter egg at the end of the movie. So yeah, that was a pretty cool way to end the movie. This, like I said, is one of the best, worst movies you'll ever see. And I understand some of the worst aspects of it, being that it was so much dialogue, because they had to establish a whole universe and background for a generation of people who never even seen or heard of Hellboy. I think that for people who are really into the Hellboy lore and know a lot about those graphic novels, they may not like this. It's better than the other 2004 Hellboy. I feel like the action scenes were a good part of this movie and what gave it balance with the best worst part, because the action scenes, when you actually saw them, they were cool, they were creative. The monsters, I really like the sci-fi touch of this. You know, I love monsters and things like that, so I thought they did a good job with that, and I give them almost a pardon for all the dialogue and stuff like that, because they were trying to explain a whole universe and create a whole world. So I'll see how they do with the action to dialogue ratio in part 2, because with all the end credit scenes that they had setting up a part 2, that we're going to get a sequel, maybe even a trilogy to this. And I want to see it. I do want to see more. They left me with that feeling of wanting to see more. I don't know how it's going to look at the box office, but I know far as how I feel about it, I think this movie is worth a rent or something like that. Maybe if you just a Hellboy fan and you want the whole set, you can go out and buy the Blu-ray, but I can't recommend you go see this in a theater. I give this about a 6.5 to 7 out of 10. I think it is worth some. It ain't just a garbage movie like people making it out to be. I think it is worth a watch, but I don't think you should just really go waste no money in no theater, especially with Avengers Endgame coming out. Just me. But anyway, y'all, that's just my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Was you feeling this movie or was you not? Anyway, don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel. It's much appreciated. And I'll catch your ass out there in this universe. Peace.
Out of the ashes, new Eden will emerge.
Okay, I'd appreciate a prophecy with more relatable stakes.
Haven't we got to be saving the world or something?
Yeah, okay, come on. Let's get your game face on. Yeah, come on, let's do this.